welcome to Passing Time with Craig. As always, I'm your host, Craig McFarlane, and today I am passing time with one of the coolest dudes I've ever met. I like to think of him as a friend. I tell everybody he is, whether he believes it or not, but it is. It is Mason. Welcome.
Hi.
Hi, Mason.
I'm very, I can feel, my face getting red, and I think that's good, because it's hard for people to make me blush.
Oh, good.
I feel like we're there, so that's good.
Oh, excellent, excellent. I don't even know where to start. I compiled a list, and I had questions I don't even know where to begin. You're just super cool. And so we first met would have been at Born Acoustic Night, I think it was, the Pride Edition, a couple summers ago. Mm-hmm. I had Melody on a couple episodes ago when we were chatting about it. I was like, I don't even know. COVID, I don't know what time it was.
Yeah,
but
I think it was pre-COVID, or maybe just,
Yeah, it was sometime in the past, either 6 weeks or 6 years. I don't know.
Yeah.
So you are a musician. Mm-hmm. Friggin' talented at that.
Thank you.
So let's just start with that, because when did you know that you wanted to sing or play instruments?
Mm-hmm. Well, my family wasn't super musical when I was growing up, but they were at least my mom, super Catholic.
Yeah.
So a lot of the books that we had were church adjacent. So I don't know if anyone listening to this grew up Catholic, but lots of Chicken Soup for the Soul.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Yes.
So I remember my mom got me Chicken Soup for the Teenage Soul. And so as a young person, also backstory. This is also important. I'm a transgender person. So whenever I tell a story about my youth, you just have to imagine a little tomboy, right?
Yeah.
So I'm reading Chicken Soup for the Teenage Soul, and I've always liked girls, you know? And so when I was younger, I was like, am I a lesbian? But that didn't feel right. So I remember reading these books, and there was an article that allegedly a young man had written. But you know what, these Chicken Soup books, I don't believe it. I don't believe it for a second. So apparently this young teenage boy had written a how to get girls to like you kind of article, and I was very invested. And one of the things in the list that he wrote was play guitar, and I was like, yeah, of course. So it wasn't because I have a deep musical connection.
Yeah.
It wasn't it was calling to me. No, I just wanted girls to like me. So that's why I taught myself how to play guitar.
That is the most honest answer anyone could have ever given. I chose because I wanted girls to like me.
Yeah. And did it work? I don't know. There's a joke or a meme about birds, and there's some kind of birds that sing to attract their mate.
Oh,
and
yes.
then you make fun of acoustic guitar boys, and you're like, what do you think, you're a bird? You're just trying to sing your song? I don't know. I don't know.
Side note, I remember Chicken Soup for the Soul books as well. Not a religious family, but they were they became everywhere.
Yeah.
And it was the blank for dummy books as well.
Yes.
Cause it was those things just had it was there was Chicken Soup for the dog lover's soul.
Anybody. Yeah, it was the more gentle, dummies book. Because the dummies books, even back in the 90s, I felt that was really harsh. Yeah, and then we also had, you always have to have, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens or whatever bullshit. And, obviously I had ADHD as a kid, but no one knew. Oh, jeez.
The struggles we had to deal with people not realizing the issues we were going through.
Absolutely. Be you are trans, you have ADHD, and you want girls to like you. Yeah. Let's get you a guitar.
Yes.
So that's the answer to that question.
That's the answer to that.
Yeah.
And did you find it easy to learn the guitar?
No, I didn't have lessons or anything, but, the internet existed at that time. I kind of just figured it out, Yeah.
And guitar because you want girls to like you. Mm-hmm. Was there any other instruments that you were well, maybe that one?
Yeah, because, all the guys at my school played guitar, so they were trying to come up with, a band, and they had everything except a bass player. So I was like, oh, well, that's even easier. I'll just play bass. And I don't want to hurt any bass players' feelings out there, because, it is a very complex instrument, but I think it's easy to pick up. Hard to master, but easy to pick up. So, yeah, I played bass as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
You love it. And then adding in vocals.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so when I was a lady person, I sang.
Yeah.
But I didn't enjoy it. But I also didn't really have a comprehension at the time that like I didn't even know people could be transgender until I was 21. So from like, learning how to play guitar at like 12 till, being 21, I would sing and stuff, but I didn't really enjoy it. And I remember one day like playing with the recording software, and I did try like pitch shifting my voice into like a deeper like deeper range, and I was like, oh wow, I don't know why this sounds so good to me. I don't know. Oh, I hope this doesn't awaken anything in me. And so then after like doing testosterone for like a year, like my voice kind of started to settle, and I kind of learned how to use it again. Because some people will say like, oh, taking hormones will like wreck your voice. Well, then cisgender men would be totally fucked. Because can I swear on your podcast? I'm sorry.
You can swear.
Okay.
Don't worry.
Because your voice changes, and you just have to figure it out. So yeah.
That's so interesting to me that it would be something like singing that would make you feel more yourself and more like, oh, this is what's been missing.
Yeah, like people talk about like gender dysphoria, which is like the unpleasant feelings that come with like your chosen identity or like what aligns with you, like not matching up with other things. But then there's like gender euphoria, and I think it's fun to kind of point out those kind of moments too. I was like, oh, pitch shift, cool, okay, yeah, sweet, yeah.
And then, of course, you're also in the Corey Hotline.
Yes, I'm in a band called the Corey Hotline. Yes.
So, what do you really enjoy when you get to perform with them or with other people in a band as opposed to when you're on stage solo?
Oh, I feel like we all make each other look better when we all get to play together. But when you're by yourself, you're just like, hey, if you don't like this, I got nothing else to offer you. Sorry. Being in a band is like Cirque du Soleil, where it's like there's always something to look at. It's like, if you don't like what this clown is doing over here, go look at this person, So I love that. And I also just love the like routine of like seeing people on like a schedule. You're just like, I guess it's like what sports are like for people that do sports. They go and like see their teammates. I'm like, I get that from music. So yeah.
And do you have songs that you see or want to do and you go, like, do you try them solo and then as a band, or do you automatically know some things that just like, this would work better completely with a band, just without even really hearing it, that?
Yeah, I'd say like 90% of the songs I've written, I do it in solitude, and then I'll offer them and I'll bring them forward, and then they always become better. The more people that get their hands on it and can add things to it. But yeah, usually because I don't know if I'd consider myself like a really sensitive songwriter, but I do like to be a little prepared before I bring something to a band. So I like to kind of work that out on my own. I don't like to do too much like scatting or diddly bop in front of them. Like, and then this is going to be a part, I don't know.
And
like,
then you're going to do this.
Yeah, exactly. I like to be a bit prepared. So yeah, though that does sound great. I mean, yeah, we could work with that. That was good. Yeah.
Well, I could be part of a band. That's
Absolutely.
all I could do. And then they're going to do this. Blah, 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 beep, boop.
Yep.
Nailed it. How would you describe the Corey Hotline?
Yeah, it's like it's like a celebratory garage rock band, and every time I've kind of go to like write a new record or a new album, I'll just listen to the Hairspray soundtrack at least like 10 times back to front. And it doesn't really sound like Hairspray, but there's like elements of like very like 1950s queer campiness that I like to like really inject into it. Most people call it a punk band. I don't think we're a punk band. I'd say we're a rock and roll band. But there is like an old like sock hop influence in there. Yeah.
It's also with your posters and graphics and everything, and I can hear what you're saying now that you've said that to me, and I've heard your music. I'm like, oh, that actually makes sense to it. Do you find Calgary's music scene, is there a place for all types of music? Do you find it really welcoming, or is it harder to find venues that are down with every type of?
I'd like to think yes, because there's so much like DIY kind of stuff that goes on. Yeah, I think that we're like starting to lose a lot of venues, but I think there's always ways to work around that,
Yeah.
right? Like worst case, you go down to the union hall of whatever carpentry or trades people, and you say, "Hey, I'm gonna do a show here," and they'll
Yeah.
probably be like, "Sure, yeah,
Yeah.
sure."
Yeah. Because there is such a great amount of genres in the city that I think you could find very easily if you wanted to, but people just kind of stick with their kinds they know, or they don't try to venture out or try something different. And
Totally.
you'd be very surprised. Like,
Yeah. Sometimes it's nice to be on a bill where you're like, this bill makes sense. It's us and so and so and so and so and so and so. But then, I think back to those days of being like in my early 20s and playing shows at Vern's where the bill would not make sense. It would be like death metal, my band, and then like maybe like singer-songwriter stuff beforehand. And you're like, yeah, I guess this is Wednesday night.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
sure. So yeah, I guess I don't get as much exposure because yeah, I don't do those kinds of shows anymore. But it was a fun time. Yeah.
is there a place you really like to go to see live music here?
I've been enjoying like Jam's Diner. That's
Oh,
like
yeah.
the old Harley Diner
Yeah.
in Inglewood.
Yeah, that's crazy and I love it that they've been going into like performances because it's such a cool space.
Very cool.
And again, you talked about like the 50s, like hairspray and everything. It's got that vibe. It looks so cool in there. There's not a lot of diners in the city that look like that.
Yeah, it's like legit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been in the basement and they have like a ramp where like they used to bring down the motorcycles
Oh,
to
really?
like work in a garage. Yeah. It's wild. Calgary's wild.
Calgary is wild. It is very wild.
Mm-hmm.
And you have your you have your pulse on a lot of things.
Yes. I try to.
You try to. You also burlesque.
Yeah. So burlesque came out of the pandemic pretty much because music wasn't really happening and we weren't able to like work together as a band. But my partner is like a pretty dang well-known burlesque performer. She gets to travel all over North America and do great shows. She's awesome. And so when she was doing shows, I would, kitten, that's when you are the panty Zamboni, you're the pickup artist, you pick up all the clothes. Then I got into hosting because I love hearing my own voice. And without applause and attention, I'll just die. So that's what I was doing. And then eventually I was like, well, I can take off my clothes.
Yeah.
It's definitely more difficult than that. I'm definitely still a rookie, but I enjoy that so much.
Yeah.
And I like to joke that because the taxpayers have paid for all my gender affirming surgeries, I'm public art. So now I'm just like reporting back to my investors, I'm
Yes.
just giving them some, the results of their money. I don't know. But I really love doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I feel like not as many people are well known that they're male burlesque dancers.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
rare. Or
It is rare.
I think if you go to some place like Vegas, you probably have always kind of seen it, but it's I'm noticing more and more in Calgary, which it's cool. Like,
Yeah.
why not?
Why not? Yeah, I think we got a really good kickstart for Boylesque in Calgary because I'm going to name two people, Carla Marks and Bitch Sassy. Carla Marks is an amazing drag queen and burlesque performer. Bitch Sassy, amazing burlesque performer, and then has the alter ego Smoky Waters, so also a great drag performer. And these two were like, let's do like a making the band type thing, but just with our awkwardly attractive, but they don't know it yet, friends. And they were like, we're going to put together like 8 guys and we're going to do this thing called the Jock Strips, which was kind of like Magic Mike plus burlesque. And some of the folks stuck with it. I was one of them that was like, yeah, this is incredible. So I stuck with it. I'd say about like 3 folks have kept it up, maybe 4, maybe 3.5.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is why there is like a larger boylesque scene, was just because like build it and they will come, right? Just 2 people that just wanted to like, give other people a little bit of support, and it just goes off from there, right?
Yeah. And so, okay, I know of one song, so I want to touch on it.
Yes.
But what comes first, the routine or the song? Like, because you do one to the, what is it? That's Amore?
Yeah. I do like a whole like Dean Martin like pizza dough mashup. So with that one, So, folks, if you can imagine, like pizza tossing, it's called like throw dough or pizza Olympics. So it's tricks that people do with pizza dough. It's not a real pizza dough. Sorry to disappoint you.
No.
It's 16 inches of pure silicone madness. You can order yours off Amazon. Whatever. Or don't.
There's a lot of 16-inch silicone things you can order off of Amazon.
Exactly. Yeah, and you get whatever one calls to you.
Yes.
So yeah, like that started because I saw there is like a pro wrestler. I cannot remember his name. Shame on me. But he does like pizza tossing, like wrestling stuff. And I was like, I want to do that, but just burlesqueify it. So yeah, that it kind of started more with the prop. And then thinking like, okay, I want to do, it's a lot to play with. So I was like, I'll do a long form. Then it ended up being a short form. Long form's like 10-minute long, more classic kind of burlesque thing. And then I shortened it. And then that one, I kind of travel with it the most because I just have to pack like this pizza, like a pizza box. Whereas as a new burlesque performer, I joke that I hide behind a lot of props and a lot of gags. So a lot of them don't travel well because I can't bring like a janitor bucket.
I was going to say, there's a janitor one you do.
Or I do a strongman one where I have to bring these pretty, I think they look pretty legit, pretty convincing weights. They are made of styrofoam. I do a strongman act. But yeah, these things don't travel well, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, like we'll play a game with like the burlesque community where like, you listen to whatever yacht rock, dad rock mix or whatever genre of music you're looking for. And the joke is kind of like, well, how would you make this a burlesque act? And my style of burlesque is more clowning.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to say that because I don't want people to get this. People are scared of clowns, or they have this idea of like what a clown looks like.
Yeah,
I look like me.
Yeah,
but I'm clowning.
Don't be terrified. This is not a clown. Doing burlesque because that does sound terrifying for a lot of people.
Yeah, I can absolutely understand that.
Yeah.
I've seen a Pennywise burlesque act.
Really?
Yes, I cannot remember the performer's name, but it was in Victoria, and I was so scared. Great, very good.
Yeah,
very good. So yeah, like you can start with a song, and then you can joke like. I was listening to the song the other day, and I don't remember who wrote it, but it's like, baby, come back.
Oh.
You can blame it all on me. When baby, come back. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know who wrote it. I'm going to say Hall & Oates, probably wrong.
Yeah.
People are going to be screaming at their whatever Bluetooth audio.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was thinking about that song, and I was like, man, I would love to do this as a stork.
Yeah.
And you come out and you give your baby away at the start to just a person in the audience, and then you're kind of like, yeah, I did my job. But as you're walking away, you're like, fuck, baby, come back. So yeah, like you can start with a song, and like, how would I make this silly?
Yeah.
A prop that you're really inspired by. Maybe just like sometimes you get a theme, right? My partner and I, we've been talking about this for years, so I just keep on putting it out there into the universe, because the more I say it, the more it's going to come to fruition.
Yeah.
But the queers, we have a good grip on, like, Christmas, right? We know how to do birthdays, but we haven't mastered Easter.
This is true.
And that's when you're spending a lot of time with family, and that can be hard. So it's nice to have a place you can go to get a break.
Yeah.
And I think that would be a burlesque/drag show called Jesus Christ Super Sluts.
Oh my God, yes, please.
It writes itself.
It does.
It's so easy, right? So yeah, sometimes it's like a theme like that where you're like, oh, who would I be? Judas? I don't know. Would I just do Lady Gaga? Probably, yeah.
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 Has your partner really enjoyed teaching you the burlesque way?
I hope so. I think she likes traveling together.
Yeah.
And then, like, I think I understand her world
Yeah.
a bit more. And I feel like I have such an advantage because there's so many unspoken rules, right? Like when I first started, I was like, okay, I'm going to get a lot of props and I'm just going to do a big setup. And she's like, absolutely not. Venues will hate you.
Yeah.
Producers are going to hate you. You can have one thing and you have to carry it on yourself, and you can't just like put it down after like 10 seconds, There's like rules like that. Like if you put something down, it's going to stay down.
Right.
Things like that. So it's nice to have that advantage, because when I see like, folks just starting out, sometimes I'm like, oh, if only they knew.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell them. Just kidding. If they're open to feedback, I would tell them. But it's nice to have that advantage of I can run something by her, and she'll let me know.
Yeah.
But then I also feel like she doesn't have as big of a hand in things as people might think. I'm like, hey, I figured this out all on my own. Some of it. She's much better at sewing than I am. But I always pay her for it because,
Well, and it must be nice to have a partner that is in the entertainment industry with you. I feel that sometimes I know I've dated guys that like they don't understand that. No, I'm gonna be busy after 7 o'clock Monday through Thursday. Like,
Yeah, and I will not text you back
Yeah.
during those times.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's my job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it must be like nice to have that person who can understand what you're going through.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a nice little thing.
It
Look
is
at
nice.
you.
Yeah. I'm very lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah. She puts up with a lot. And she knows that, and I think everyone else should know that. So yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, now everybody's hearing it.
Yep.
They're probably also still mad that Toon Daddy did not figure out the song. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I know it, but we're going with Hall & Oates. That's
It's
what
fine. It's fine.
Okay, so you're very okay. Actually, before we move off burlesque, were you a coordinated person before you? Like, were you a coordinated kid?
Oh, like as a dancer?
Yeah.
Oh, see, again, I think back to Catholic school.
Yeah.
I went to St. Jude Elementary School in Woodbine, and I remember we'd have these like much music dances.
Oh, yes.
And I loved to dance, and I remember just moving however my body felt. And I remember my mom kind of pulling me aside, and she was like, "You can't do some of the dances that you're doing." And I was like, "Why?" And she's like, "Well, it's sexual." And I was like, "I don't know what that means."
Yeah.
Because my parents, you know, my mom being good and Catholic didn't really explain any of that to me as a kid.
Yeah.
So I innately was I guess my understanding looking back, I was a very hypersexual child, especially through dancing, though I didn't know, I wasn't exposed to anything inappropriate as a child. It's just how I move, I guess. So yeah, I don't know. I think things are really falling into place. I don't know.
This is one of those things where it just reminds me anyways, the importance of not sheltering your children and like letting them know things. I think it's so important because it just so you're not confused.
Yeah.
And, like
Or
like
confusing other people.
Yeah,
you know?
confusing other people, nothing
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
So
If I had known what I was doing was so sexual, which I really want to know now,
Yeah.
I'm like, I should ask my mom, be like, "You remember those dances?" I'm sure it had something to do with the hips.
yeah.
Yeah, and just to know, you know, give your kid the language to be like, oh, some of these things are like things we do alone, and some of them we do at school dances,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah, I don't want people to think that I was doing anything like super heinous. I'm sure I was just thrusting.
Yeah, but yeah, you're probably just thrusting, and people, yeah,
Yeah.
But like, it's important to just talk. Like, my, sister's kids, they're 11 and 9 now. Oh God, I'm so old. But they do hear us swear, and occasionally they might slip up and say "fuck."
Yeah.
But they know that, like, my sister's been taught, like, okay, like,
Yeah.
if you're gonna say it here in
Yep.
this home.
Yeah.
Do not bring it to school.
Yeah, totally.
Which probably didn't
Totally.
stop because I know I was swearing at school. Like,
Yeah, just a little awareness is good. But
Yeah.
yeah, what can you do?
yeah.
Yeah.
And okay, so you're super talented at performing.
Thank you.
You're doing a great job with it.
Thanks.
What's it like when did you decide you wanted to do tattoos?
Oh yeah, okay. So I like to do it all, folks. As a kid, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how my family must still just be like, wow, we got an odd one, because no one in my family has tattoos.
Oh.
Like the only person that has a tattoo now is my mom.
Oh.
And it's like small, and like I did it on her, just tiny,
Just tiny, little tiny little thing.
Yeah. So no one had tattoos. I remember the first time I saw it, like a tattoo, like up close, was maybe some weird, estranged uncle who, like, I still couldn't tell you who this person was. I don't know. And if I explained to my mom, I think she'd be like, I think you're making that up. It's just such a random memory. But it was something very like, Vietnam, probably like hand-poked army kind of tattoo, like Grim Reaper on this guy's forearm. It was bad. But I just remember being like, wow, amazing. So yeah, I just always liked tattoos. And I do think maybe if we want to like tie some deep meaning to it, I think that like tattoos and bodily autonomy really make sense to like transgender folks.
Right.
So it's just like thinking about, your cute apartment you know, if they have nothing on the walls, if you don't have any of your furniture moved in here, it might not feel like home. But then we put these things on our body and shit on our walls, and then all of a sudden we feel okay. You know? Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Is it, like, because you're performing, let's say, whether you're, even if you're doing an acoustic set, and you're singing, or you're with the band, or you're doing a burlesque, and then you go do a tattoo, and you are, that's a such, like, small, and you have to kind of be more precise and, like, slow and take your time. Is it a big change for you, or can you slip into it pretty easily?
I think it's kind of all performing, isn't it? And I don't want to say it like, oh, I'm just pretending, because, like, performing, yeah, but, like, we're kind of always performing.
Yes.
I don't want to get too... yeah, people are going to be like, I'm not on the right drugs for this podcast. Yeah, but it's like, people are like, oh, do you get nervous? And I'm like, oh, I do so much wild shit all the time that, like, I don't get nervous for a lot of things. So, yeah, it is like a performance where, like, you are there to do a service and you focus and you do it to the best of your ability. Yeah. Just like all the other things, like, oh, you're going to take off your shirt? You better take that off. Best damn shirt reveal you've ever done. You know? Yeah.
I totally get it, because I get asked every single time before, like, hosting a big event or hosting trivia or, like, emceeing a friend's wedding. People are always like, are you nervous? I'm like, oh, no, like, I've done this before, and I get right into this mode, and I love it, and they're like, oh, I can never do it. I'm like, okay, well, but I can't do what you do, but I can do this. Like, even like, it just helps me so much, and it's where I'm meant to be, I feel, is to host and entertain people. You know, I lost a friend a few weeks ago, and I still hosted my events. So during the daytime, I would kind of just be here in my apartment and not do anything but watch TV and just be by myself. But I needed those events, and it just brought me so much joy to entertain people. Like, it just brings something out of you.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Because sometimes you can go perform or host and make somebody's day.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. But it's nice to have the balance, because, I do spend a lot of time in the disassociation chair, you know, or, like, just, you know, taking that time.
Yes. You need that.
Yeah.
I feel like we're very similar, and that makes me happy, because I adore you. And so you've given me 3 tattoos now.
Yeah.
This is gonna be the best part of the podcast for this audio thing.
Yeah. And for folks at home, Craig is covered in tattoos. His face, everything.
I've got 1,000 tattoos. No, I've got I think I'm at 6 tattoos now, and half of them are from you.
Amazing.
You've been doing these wonderful Jurassic dinosaur ones on me. And I love it. I want to just, like, talk about you. Originally I sent you, like, I told you I love Jurassic Park, and I wanted, like, Life Finds a Way. I love that quote so much. And I was like, just maybe in, like, Jurassic Park banner. And you came back with this design of the T-Rex, and you have the amber with the mosquito in it and leaves, and it still says Life Finds a Way, and I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, next up is Triceratops. And then you're like, is there any quotes? And I said that. And then you came back with that. And, like, so what is it like when people just give you that little, this is what I want?
It's so fun. Like, there's a very cheesy exercise I used to teach elementary school. If anyone wants to add that into the jumble of hilarity,
right. I forgot about
hilarity that is my life. But it was a creative arts school, and so we'd have these really cheesy PD days where they would be like, give us these, like, inspirational tasks. And one stuck with me. I remember we all got a paperclip, and they're like, write down a list of all the things you could do with this paperclip. And this is when I first started there, so I was trying to be very like, oh, well, it's metal, so you could use it to, you know, connect electrical current, or, oh, you could open a CD player thing, or you could pick a lock. And then the more senior, wild teachers were just like, yeah, this is what I used to pick out my boogers, and this is a murder weapon I needed when I had nothing else. And I was like, whoa, this is like, obviously no students are around, but, like, very inappropriate or, like, wild things. And everyone was like, good job, great. And they were, like, encouraging it, because they were saying, like, kindergartners, when you give them a paperclip or that question of, like, what could you use this with, they're like, oh, earring, oh, everything. And they, like, come up with, like, 100 things. Whereas, like, you give it to, like, our sad, depressed millennial working in a corporate office, and you're like, what do you do with this paperclip? And they might be, well, clean my fingernails.
Yeah.
And I think about that a lot, like, how we kind of have to keep up this like sense of play. And you probably get this as a host, right?
Yeah.
Because like hosting is you're also just playing.
Oh yeah.
You know, you're just hosting a slumber party
Yeah.
kind of thing, just keeping people engaged and entertained. So like the tattoos, right? Yeah. It's this idea of like the yes and in improv. If you think about this, well, what about this? What about this? And I really love studying like American traditional tattoos because it's such an iconic kind of imagery, folks. That's like ships and anchors and butterflies, and then just to think about how do we take something more like pop culture and like ram it into that in that scope. And I just love doing that. You know, you can just like pay homage to these really great traditional pieces while like, you know, bringing in something more modern that people connect with. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like it. I love my tattoos. I get compliments on them all the time.
Nice.
And I know I need another one, and now I'm like, oh, fuck, now I really need another one. It's just deciding which one. I think I want a raptor.
Oh, yeah. Love a girl.
Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
So do you have people, how often have you had it, like, new people, and you're like, oh, you're really not ready for this tattoo?
I try to do the informed consent model. I think I'm a pretty ethical person. But yeah, sometimes I'll get really descriptive in my you know, pain tolerance, and I'll tell someone, I'm like, you want a tattoo on your ribs? Amazing. I want you to imagine being on the magician stage and I come out to saw you in half, but I have an electric bread knife instead. And then they're like, oh, I don't like that. And I'm like, yeah, that's what it's going to be like for like 2 hours. Yeah. So if someone's down for that, great. But I never like to surprise people. I always err on the side of, man, this is going to suck. Not artistically, but physically, you know? But yeah, I think I'm a pretty ethical person. I can tell, like, I'll like tell people we can break it up in line work or we can use some numbing stuff, whatever. But yeah, like sometimes people aren't ready, but like if you really want it, you know, you can make it happen.
You can make it happen.
You can make it happen. I've had some people where like we got pretty close to finishing and then they called it and I don't think I've ever seen them again.
Really?
But that's okay. Yeah. Because, you know, I don't want to like force someone.
Yeah.
You know? You know, we don't need that in our lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I've heard that before, especially with people, like, ribs are tough. Where else you, like, if someone's coming to you for their first tattoo and they said an area, would you be like, oh, let's not start there?
I have my whole back done, but the lower back part hurts so much.
Really?
And then we've been making fun of people with lower back tattoos for years, but no, that was awful, Craig. It was like a coat hanger, like you heat it up in the embers of a fire, and then someone just like pokes it through your lower back, but then the end of it like comes out of your genitals somehow. I was like, why is it burning? Yeah. Like I was so upset. Yeah, so it hurt, but then I was also like, this is a frightening pain. I don't know if it should feel like this.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wouldn't recommend lower back. And then sometimes folks want to like, there's a joke about like, it's called the Warped Tour body. What is it called? Oh man. Well, I don't want Craig to have to edit this. You know, people have a full bodysuit of tattoos, but the Warped Tour like bodysuit is like you get your hands done and your neck, and then you wear long pants and long sleeve shirt, and everyone thinks you're covered in tattoos. But then when you take off your clothes, it's just your hands and your neck. So some people want to do that, and I'm like, no, like. Just for you, also, like, I don't want you to get teased, but more importantly, I don't want to get teased because tattooers are going to make fun of me for, like, doing this poor placement. I try to tell people, if you want me to do your head, face, neck, or hands, that has to be, like, the only spot left on your body. And they're like, oh, I don't care. And I'm like, I care. Yeah. I don't want to be bullied.
Yeah, you're like, I'm thinking about me right now.
Yeah, this guy.
This is my art, so...
Yeah. Get eaten alive on Instagram. I'm not gonna do that to myself. No.
Just gonna be shared around, and then it's gonna be like become like a BuzzFeed article, and it's too much.
Yeah, fucking posers.
So did I see that you've done over 1,400 tattoos?
Yeah, I've been counting. So I started counting when I was an apprentice, and everyone thought that was funny and cute, and then I've just kept it up. And initially I would use a hashtag tattoo, and then whatever the number, because it would come up right away, and then I wouldn't have to count. Instagram doesn't do that anymore, or I'm doing it wrong. So I still keep going hashtag tattoo 14 oh wait,
Yeah.
but I have to go check every single time. So if you're on Instagram and you see me post a tattoo right away, a little Easter egg, come back after 5 minutes and I will have changed the number after I look back and see what we're actually at. Yeah.
Wow.
And then that's also fun for people if they're like, wow, has he just like been on vacation or like what's going on? And if I skip a whole bunch, like 10, that just means that I've been doing like infinity loops for like a week and I just didn't want anyone to know. Live, laugh, love all week. Sorry.
Yeah, there must be a few of the like I feel like a maple leaf's probably up there.
Yeah.
Zodiac symbols.
Yeah, not so much. Like, I think the Gen Z folks, they're very into like numbers, and like sometimes like it for me. Like, I was born in '89.
Yeah.
You don't have to disclose when you were born, but for me,
I'm 90, so I'm right there with you. I'm very close to you.
Yeah, we're like the same. So when people get like established like 2000 or like 1998, like as a tattoo, I think that's so embarrassing. Like, I'm sorry, but you're a baby, and that's, I don't know. I guess, yeah, you're proud of it.
But
I would never get a 1989 tattoo.
No.
Never, ever. No.
No, I wouldn't get a 1990 tattoo.
No.
The only numbers on my body is like my mom's birth and death year. Like that's it. And like, yeah, I might do it for other people who are important to me, but I'm not doing
No.
no, none of that. No.
So yeah, they're into that for some reason, which is fine.
Yeah,
It's fine.
And which studio are you working out of these days?
Blackbird Electric.
Blackbird Electric. Yeah.
So that's women-owned. Carrie Arthurs. She's been tattooing for. I always get the number wrong. So like the lore is very confusing because I'll say like 25 years, 20 years, 16. I think the shop's been around for 16 years. I think Carrie's been tattooing for like 25 years. And then if she hears this, she's gonna be like, I'm not that old, or I got it wrong. I don't know. But yeah, she's incredible. She's been tattooing for forever. And then her apprentice / junior artist Simone Thorne. It's great because like we got 2 lady folks, and then me, a transy pansy, and that's it right now. We'd love to have another person, but it's very nice to be able to say like this is a completely queer shop. Everyone that works there is queer. It's just really nice. Yeah.
I love it. I love. You know, I've had a few other queer people on the podcast so far, and I just love. The people who are very vocal about it. Did you know that you were always going to be vocal about being transgender? Was there a point where you wanted to hide it, or you just knew that you wanted to be open about it?
I wanted to be open about it. There was a time when I was closeted, but I was forced to. It was when I was starting to teach elementary school, and I specifically went to the administration being like, I would like to be out. I also had just started hormones. I looked like Justin Bieber. I was not... I feel like people thought I was either 12 or they're like, oh, this person's like a queer person. So I was like, there's no point in hiding it. And they're like, no, we can't let you do that. I was like, that seems insane. But you know, when you're young and you just want to work and just want to do your job, you spent 5 years in university and you're like, I would like to do what I paid all this money to do. So I just went with it. Part of me was like, yeah, this is easier. Part of me was like, I want my students to show up as their authentic selves every day, yet I don't do it for them.
Right.
So I tried modeling, like the fluidity of gender in other ways. Like when we have dress up days, I'd be like, well, I'm a fairy. and I don't, folks, if you know me, I don't like dressing feminine. I did it for 21 years. I'm done. But for these kids, I was like, oh, well, if we have like dress like a teacher day, I'm going to dress up like the female librarian or my female staff member. Because it's fine. Right. Or we had, it was an art school. So we had like weird guest artists for gym sometimes. We had a baton twirler. Amazing. Like when you think cheerleaders and like the baton throwing. But I found out that my grade 3 boys were refusing to do baton. So I was like, fuck this. For a week I showed up. I made sure I had my gym strip because I was going to go twirl baton for like an hour each day. And then the rest of the fellas got into it. So I love to model for them like healthy masculinity. But yeah, I wasn't able to be out. And it was maybe my last year of teaching where I was just like, y'all, I'm going to have like a meltdown. Like, and it leaks out in other ways of my life, right? Like there's no point in trying to hide it because, you know, parents will talk or like people will figure things out. And then I don't know what kind of example I'm setting for my students by keeping this like thing a secret that it's not a big deal.
It's not.
It's not a secret at all. So yeah, after that, very happy to be out. And then I was working as a sexual health educator, and being out as a transgender person helped so much. That was good. And yeah, there's just really no downside for me doing this. I have a lot of privilege, right? Because I think trans masculine folks, our society loves the patriarchy. So when they're like, welcome to the team, they get all excited. Like a little girl wants to play hockey, great. Little boy wants to do ballet, you know? So I have a lot of privilege in saying that, but I think it's good that I have the ability to be out, so I do it. I think transgender folks, like our rights movement gets delayed a little bit because we have the opportunity to be stealth if we want to. But then people don't have that connection of being like, well, my best friend or my brother, my coworker is trans. Because, we're like 1% of the population, which is a lot.
Yeah.
So it's like, come out wherever you are. I know I don't want to pressure people that are like not safe, but honestly, like I feel like it does a lot of good. And I guess do what's right for you. But
yes.
I find for myself, great.
And I think it's important. I think it's always important for queer kids, or not even queer kids, just kids to see healthy, happy adults who are queer, whether they're transgender or gay, lesbian, whatever they may be, because so much of what we've had in media was always like movies and TV characters was always tragic or awful.
Villains,
yes, huge thing was villains, and it was just like that was the joke or whatever. And with everything going on with what idiot is doing, I think it's important for kids and teens to see happy, healthy transgender folks like yourself.
Yeah. I got to do a school visit last week at Dr. Martha Cohen Junior High, and the kids, they were so great, like a GSA group, and I just kind of went in there. I was like, hey, I'm a transgender guy. What do you want to talk about? And they were so great. And I've never seen like youth so in tune. It's a positive and a negative. So in tune with like the political climate of our province. Like when I was in grade 7, I didn't know who my MLA was. I didn't know who my premier was. And these folks are like, oh yeah, we write letters.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, I think we're going to be okay, you know?
The only time I knew of any person in power in Canada was Ralph Klein when we got the money.
Ralph Bucks.
Bucks. That's the only time I knew anything about who was, and I didn't even know what, I think I was calling him like prime minister. Like,
yeah, probably. But y'all, when Craig debuts as a burlesque performer, he will be under the name Ralph Bucks.
Ralph Bucks. Oh,
Ralph Bucks.
That would be a great. That is an amazing name. 100%.
Think about it.
I'm not coordinated enough.
Doesn't matter.
But I do love what you do. And like, actually, I would say I'm not coordinated enough. But I think there's something about burlesque that it's so much, it's slower movement. So it's not you having to learn like 30 dance moves that you're doing in 10 seconds.
Yeah,
like,
it's the art of the tease. It's like flirting with people. And the fun thing about it is like everybody's sexy.
Yeah.
Burlesque is nice because like it really is more performer centered than like, I don't want to shit on strip clubs because a lot of my friends are strippers and a lot of my friends go to strip clubs and I think that's the best. Yeah. I fucking love strippers and I love going to the strip club. But it is a bit more client-centered, right? Like the people that go there, they're trying to think, okay, what do these folks who are going to give us their money, what do they want to see? Whereas burlesque, it's like, you don't get a choice.
Yeah.
Okay, this is what's happening. So it's cool. It like has helped rewire my brain. I grew up in a house where like my mom was a personal trainer, my dad was a firefighter. So they're like both pretty physically fit, able-bodied folks with like a good sense of like that 90s like this is a balanced meal, this is the Canada's food guide. So growing up, like I had a lot of internalized like fat phobia and actually probably externalized fat phobia, let's be honest. And it's so cool to see my fat friends go up there and just be the hottest fucking shit I've ever fucking seen. And it just feels so good in my brain, you know? So it's everybody's sexy. You don't have to be a good dancer, you can be any shape, any size, any gender, whatever. It's so cool.
So okay, so if anybody's listening to this and like, okay, maybe I should check it out. What's some good resources for them, or what should they do?
I would give all your money to Cab Lab. So that's Cabaret Calgary. They do these student showcases and like classes, and they're really affordable. And the coolest thing about Cabaret Calgary is when they do a student showcase, everyone gets paid.
Nice.
And the last time, I probably shouldn't be disclosing all this like financial information, but I'm on the inside. I think performers walked out with like $100 in tips and then $100 for doing the show.
Wow.
And I think the classes were like $200 for like the month or whatever. Like it's so affordable when you think about it. And then everyone broke even because they performed and they made it back. So you can meet like really cool body positive, lots of queer friends, lots of good folks. Or you can be like, I don't ever want to perform, but I just want to like do something that's a bit sexier than Zumba.
Yeah.
You know? But honestly, what's sexier than Zumba? I don't know.
There's nothing.
I don't
sexy
know.
than Zumba.
Yeah, so that's cool.
I want to quickly. I've got like one or two more questions for you, but I did want to just touch on something. I think it's important for these people to remember who are going to burlesque or they're going to a drag performance, especially live music. Doesn't get as much opportunities for it, but still you should bring cash when you come to these events so you can actually tip and show your support to these performers. And I know as a society, like because of COVID, we really got away from not bringing cash with us, but and performers have gotten that square reader, but it's, you want to showcase, and the performer really feels it when they're feeling appreciated.
Totally. So. Absolutely. Yeah. And if you're going to one of Craig's shows, Tip Craig.
That's good advice.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say no to that, but
totally.
I think it's important for people to just realize the amount of work that entertainers put into any of their performances.
Well, I remember during COVID, I was doing all this research on the Black Plague because I was panicking.
Yeah.
And then I realized that after the Black Plague came the Renaissance, and I was like, well, shit, this is great. Like, we're going to get like live music back and people are going to appreciate the arts. It didn't really happen.
No.
It's kind of gone the other way. And I get that it's like related to the economy. But you know what? Like it does feel nice, if you're, if you want to mask up and go out there and see a show, great. And you got $5, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you can I get it. There is a lot going on in the city. There is so much. You can find something almost every single night of the week. So many great performers, whether it's comedy, music, burlesque, drag, trivia nights, whatever. There's always something going on. You don't have to go out every single night of the week. You don't even have to go out once a week if you can't afford it. Like, do whatever is good for you on your wallet. But it's so important to get out there and showcase, because I think people forget about the importance of arts. Like you said, like the Renaissance came after the Black Plague. And I think about, especially those first 2 weeks of everything being shut down in the world, what did everybody do? Watch movies and TV shows.
Yeah, absolutely.
Entertainers.
Yeah.
That's what... So don't disregard art because it got you through some, like, the craziest time in our lifetime.
Absolutely. Fingers crossed, knock on wood, that we're out of the woods.
Yes.
To be determined.
Yes. TBD. Who knows? As we start to wrap up here, I always like to ask people, what's awesome?
What's awesome? Oh, yeah. Craig gave me a heads up that this would be a question, and I totally blanked. What's awesome? You know what? On Netflix, there is a show called Physical 100, and it is based in South Korea, and it's like strong person competitions.
Yes.
Various things, cardio, grip strength, wrestling. And these South Korean folks are just incredible.
Yeah.
And they just do a whole season to figure out who's the strongest, and that is awesome.
Someone else told me about this.
It was probably me.
I was like, was this our last tattoo session?
Yeah.
You were talking about
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
And then the weirdest thing is I popped up Netflix today, and one of the first things that they displayed was that one.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. I was like, and so that's so funny that you said that. The world is weird like that. That is awesome.
Physical 100.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Do you tell folks what's awesome?
What's awesome? Let's see. Oh, The Traitors. I just finished watching The Traitors.
Alan Cummings.
Oh my goodness,
Yeah.
Alan Cummings. I always loved him.
Yes.
But him as the host of The Traitors, there is nothing better.
Yeah. Wasn't he in Spice World?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I was like, I know I love this man, but I can't remember why.
He was in Spice World. He was the so there's two things that you might know him from Spice World, where he was
the photographer.
He was so he was making the documentary. He was
Oh,
making the
yeah.
documentary.
The spy documentary. Yeah.
And then the other thing you might know him from is Josie and the Pussycats.
Right. Yes.
As the
Yes,
agent
the
or whatever,
agent.
the manager.
I don't know if this podcast will come out in time, but April 20th, Skipping Stone fundraiser. This is a place that raises money for like transgender resources and folks in the city. So Skipping Stone, we're donating all the money from like Bands as Bands. So it's at the Blocks. I can't remember what time, but it's all ages. But I'm in a Josie and the Pussycats cover band called Friends First.
Oh my goodness.
So if y'all are available on April 20th, come on down to the Blocks. It's going to be great.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, I might have to try and make it out for that because that would be so good. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, Skipping Stones is a great organization. There's a lot of stuff happening with them. People really try to support them right now. If people are looking for a tattoo from you,
Yes.
they can. Is it Mason Jenkins Tattoos?
No, I made it complicated. I went with my burlesque performer name, which is Tomboy Selleck.
Yes.
I was figuring I would get more gigs that way, and it's worked out great. And it hasn't cut down on the tattoo gigs. I was like, can I just have the best of both worlds?
Yeah.
Yes, I can. So you can find me at Tomboy Selleck. It also keeps out like the weirdos that want like weird tattoos because they're like, Tomboy Selleck, I don't trust him.
Yeah.
Great, I don't trust you back. Get out of my way. So yes, if you want a tattoo, at Tomboy Selleck on Instagram. I have a website, masonjenkinstattoo.com. I have a burlesque website, tomboyselleck.com. It's all the same.
It's all the
It's
same.
all the same. You can find me.
You can find you. I do want to like. I didn't really mention it earlier, but you're such a fantastic artist too. Like the designs you came up with for me, I love them. And you will post like some designs that you have just created because you must always just be thinking of them in your head.
I like that stuff.
Yeah. So you will sometimes post like if people are just like my good friend Sheena, she just sometimes just wants a tattoo. But they don't know. People don't always know what they want. But you will sometimes post, be like, "Hey, I got some options for you."
Totally. I'd love to do a Spice Girls, Spice World, Josie and the Pussycats theme. Hit me up.
Oh, yes. Oh, now I want a Spice World tattoo.
Yeah, one of the greatest films of all time.
It's so good.
Yeah.
I was laughing on my Instagram feed the other day. Was the clip where they're going to talk to the little boy in a coma, and I'm Melcia, I'm Jerry, and I'm Victoria.
It's the perfect movie. I don't know why people give it such a hard time.
It's so
it's the best movie.
friggin' good.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Okay, so so you can find you everywhere and all things.
Yep.
Mason, I thank you so much for passing time with me today.
Thanks, Craig.
This has been super fun. Thank you all for passing time, and we'll chat soon. Bye, everyone.